Alright, YouTube viewers, got a 2006 Suzuki Verona. My brother's been driving the car. He was doing some maintenance on it, and he had a knock in the front end, which he was unable to actually figure out what the problem was. When he would stop, it would kind of make a knocking noise. Pretty much he didn't have time last night to fully check it out, so he just glanced at it. So he had the wheels took off of it, and in the process of putting the wheels back on it, he over tightened the stud on the front wheel, and once over tightened, this is what you get. As you can see, one is missing a nut and part of the stud. Well, I told him I'd help him out fixing it, so this morning while he's at work, I'm trying to get it all resolved and get it back on the road for him. But one interesting thing is, when he had the front end tore apart, or the tires, and checking the front end, we noticed that, I don't know if you can see it, but needs a front end alignment. The whole inside of the tire is wearing more than the rest of the tread, so that's considered a toe in. So the top of the tire while you're driving is not perfectly straight. So in the process, I'm going to put a new set of tires on it and get a front end alignment once I get the stud fixed here. So again, a little bit about the car. This Suzuki Verona, they only made it for 2 or 3 years, so the production rate wasn't too high on it. A lot of them are lemons, which is like a bad car. You really can't get parts for them here in Bakersfield. There's not a whole there's no dealership. You can't buy parts locally. There's a Suzuki dealership in Los Angeles, but they rarely have parts. Common problem that we've had with this is there's a electronic shifting mechanism on top of the transmission that frequently goes out. And to get one, you have to order it from Japan or outside of the country. So again, wouldn't advise buying one of these, but again, you may get one that runs perfectly fine. And I've seen a lot of complaints on the internet about this vehicle, so I'm gonna go ahead and position the camera so I can start taking this apart to give a little bit of description on what I'm doing to remove it and how I'm gonna extract it and put the new one in, and hopefully someone can gain some knowledge out of it and can fix it on their own instead of paying a high repair cost to do this, because it's a pretty easy procedure. Shouldn't take me but about 20 minutes. So I'll go ahead and get the camera positioned and turned on, and I'll go ahead and start disassembling everything and try to be as descriptive as possible while I'm going along. Okay guys, a few things we're gonna need to make this happen is, if you've got a 4-way to take the lug nuts off, that's fine. As you can see, I'm starting where I've got the vehicle jacked up and supported on jack stands, so it's safe. One thing I would advise is breaking the lug nuts loose before you lift the car, because you're gonna have a hard time trying to break them loose with the tire spinning. And it'll only spin so far, because it is a front-wheel drive vehicle, but you don't want to take a chance on messing up your transmission. So I'm using a ratchet and a socket, and if I'm not mistaken, let me see here, a 3/4 socket will take the lug nuts off. So once you break them loose here, which I've already done before the video, we've jacked the vehicle up. So take the 3 lug nuts off. Gonna remove the tire. Just wiggle it off. Set it out of the way. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the caliper off the vehicle, which is right here. And to do that, we're gonna need a size 9/16 will work. And let me get the appropriate ratchet. Okay. So there's 2 bolts holding it on. There's one. There's 2. Now, this will slide off like so. This weighs anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds. You don't want it to hang on the rubber brake line because it'll rip it. So you need to kind of maneuver it up in here on the suspension so it doesn't fall and it's out of the way. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take off the bracket that holds the caliper on, and we're going to use a 17 millimeter. Okay, well, first what you want to do is you want to pop the brake pads off, just like that. They slide right out. Once they've slid out, like so, then you're going to take your 2 17 millimeter bolts off. So just like so. Once you get them loose enough, they should come off by hand, or you can use just the socket. It'll be a little quicker than the ratchet too. So as you can tell, I turned the front wheels to the passenger side so you got more ease of access to get to your bolts. Once I get this took apart here, that one's still a little tight. Once I get this took off, then we're going to see the second bolt. This just slides out. Don't lose the retainer brackets for the brake pads because brakes won't fit back right and you won't be happy with that. Makes a lot of noise and it could lock up. Next, I'm going to kind of move the camera with the tripod, and there's a lot of controversy. A lot of people say you don't have to. A lot of people say you do. I prefer to. I want to remove the rotor. So on this particular vehicle, I know on Hondas they have 2 Phillips screws. This one just has 1, and all that does is keep this attached to the hub, so there's no vibration, wiggling, anything like that. So it's just a safety measure. So you're going to take that Phillips screw out. The whole piece will come off in one piece. The reason I say some people don't, some people do, it just makes it easier for me. If you look, I don't know if you can tell, because the tripod's kind of big, but as you can see, yeah, you really can't see off in there. On this one you may have to take them off, but sometimes you can get the studs out without having to take everything completely apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to break this loose. Sometimes these are, with driving it, everything heats up and cools off, the metal expands and shrinks. So what I like to do, especially with a Phillips or a flathead screw, Allen's not so bad, but sometimes they'll strip. So you just hit the end of the screwdriver and it'll come right off. What it does is it kind of jars the screw, so it just breaks stuff loose. So once you get that, you can see it kind of moved a little bit, so you wiggle it off. Okay? Once you've got it removed, I myself like putting the vehicle in neutral so I can swivel the front end. Good thing to do is chalk your rear tires so the vehicle doesn't roll while you do this, but as you can see, there's a different shape here, and the easiest way to knock this out without messing anything up is to get it right here so you have a clear view, a clear shot of what you're doing. So what you do is, once you get it where you think it's going to pop out, you grab a hammer, preferably a bigger one than this, but sometimes the smaller ones will work. Depends on how much weight you put behind it. But what you're going to do is carefully hit it and they'll knock out. Because all they are is pressed in, and you have a spline here. And that sets in, and as you can see, it's a little, the stud's a little bigger than the hole. So this metal actually conforms to the inside, and when the first time you drive it, it really just cinches and it heats and expands. So yeah, so the old one's out. Simple as that. A lot of people say you have to drill them, you have to press them. Normally, if you're careful, you can remove them just like that with a hammer, and it's going to save you a lot of money. One thing I've noticed is my camera is almost dead, so I'm going to charge it a little bit, and then I'll come back out, and then we'll continue the process of putting everything back together and reassembly, and then I'll show you a little more about that and talk a little bit about it. And at the end of the video, I'm going to put up an actual printout of where I got my part from AutoZone. That was a headache in itself because they have 5 different ones for this car, and I had to go to a few different stores to get it. But one place I did find, fortunately, the stud you can get at AutoZone. So I'll go ahead and shut the camera off, let it charge a little bit, and I'll be back in a little bit, and we'll put everything back together.